talk about mobile game market in Turkey with great participants. We have Ilayda as country manager from Xsolla, Simay from Recontact Games as co-founder, Murat from Game Factory as co-founder, and Türker from Udo Games as CEO. Let the participants introduce themselves and their companies a bit, and then we will go into the subjects directly. So, Ilayda, you start.
All right. I hope you can hear me well, guys. So, I work for Xsolla as the country manager of Turkey and also for the MENA region countries. So, if you would like to get a little knowledge about Xsolla, we are an international game commerce company that has some special tools and solutions that are specifically designed for video games industry. And we've been in the industry for over 17 years, so we have pretty much interesting things to tell you about, and I'll have a session right after this panel, so I'll see you there.
Perfect, thank you very much. Simay?
Yes, hello everyone. So I'm Simay Dinç. I'm the co-founder of Recontact Games. I'm a game producer. We combine cinema and video games into a new art form through pioneering technologies. So our motto is creating playable arts. So it's not hyper casual, it's kind of like a mid-core game in the mobile gaming industry. So as well as Recontact Games, I'm the founder of Women in Games Turkey to empower more women in the industry, working for diversity and inclusion since 2015, and we are organizing boot camps, hackathons, programs in universities, high schools. And as well as, I need to mention that I'm the founding partner of Arthane, which is a gaming incubation center and unusual art gallery in an old town village called Ayvalık. I don't know how many Turkish people around here. Could you please raise your hands if you're Turkish? Okay, half of it. And please raise your hand if you have ever been to Ayvalık before. Okay, not bad. So in the summertime, we are organizing Hacking to Future hackathons and boot camps for university students to empower the gaming industry and tell them that the gaming industry is not just about coding, it's about culture, arts, technology, and science. So I will talk about more about this, so sorry. So thank you. Glad to be here, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Murat, please.
Okay. Hi again. I'm Türker, one of the co-founders and CEO of Udo Games. It's been actually, this month was our 10th anniversary as Udo Games. And as personally, I'm in the gaming industry for like 12 years nowadays. And we were all in mobile till now. And today we are a game publisher as Udo Games. We are focusing on like hybrid casual and casual projects. We are working with lots of studios to build great games together, and that's all for now.
Perfect, thank you very much. And lastly, myself as head of gaming at Math Studio, I've been designing, producing, and publishing games for more than 4 years, and that's all from now from us. Let's start with our subjects. So, you know, the game industry is a bit slowed recently, and also Turkish market is affected. And what's the biggest challenge at the moment, Ilayda? What do you think?
Me.
Yes.
Yeah, we missed Murat, actually.
How dare you forget Murat Kahraman?
I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding.
Hello everyone. My name is Murat Kahraman, and I spent more than 23 years in game industry. And now recently I'm the co-founder of Game Factory. Game Factory is one of the biggest incubator and accelerator in Europe for game development. We have more than 5,000 active members at the moment. And we are helping game companies just to grow their game and their business. And that's it. I hope most of you at this Turkish ones knows already Game Factory. And that's it.
Thank you. So let's get to our question, and Ilayda, what's the biggest challenge
Oh,
currently?
I mean, since I also had a chance to work with a publisher for a very long time, and I also work closely with studios right now, so I would say it's definitely the high cost of UA and retention at the moment, especially for the mobile gaming market. So reasons, of course, we know they're like post-pandemic habits. Actually, they're like pre-pandemic habits because we all got back to our old habits. So we got back to our old lives. And there is inflation, and also we have the new store regulations. So everything is making it harder for game developers to acquire new users with a cheaper cost. So the cost is getting higher, and also most of the market is now becoming more stronger, and they are requesting solid content. So you have to bring out more captivating content, you have to bring out better quality, and you have to be very, very creative with your ads. So that means constant development cost and constant marketing costs. So if you would like to survive from these like challenging times, you have to be creative, you have to be agile, you have to be adaptive in the industry. And this is not only for gaming, but for every single company. But considering the gaming, you have to be adaptive, very quick, especially since we are in the Hyper Games conference and considering the hyper casual games and hybrid games. So it's ever growing and changing. So you have to be adaptive, not only to challenges, but also to the innovations. So you have to keep growing your audience, you have to keep improving your games, but also you have to also evaluate the new technologies and bring that out in your games. So that's how you could survive these challenges, and that's what we see, especially in the Turkish market right now. So our companies, our studios, they're shifting their content more of a hybrid version. We have like studios here, they would explain more on this, but you have to transit your content, you have to improve your IAP, you have to be better on the content providing. So yeah, these are the challenges, and I would say these are the solutions to address these challenges right now.
All right, I will come to the user acquisition and retention part shortly. So Simay, what do you think about it? What's the biggest challenge?
Actually, right now in Recontact Games, we transform our games into the PC games. Because the mobile gaming industry, the ecosystem is so crowded, and I think one of the main problems is discoverability, because you can't discover the great games in the industry, and they can't find funding. If you come up with the new genres, new ideas, breakthrough innovations, but they can't find funding, right?
Yeah.
So the VCs, and there are like, right now there are many VCs around there are many incubation centers out there, but lack of that kind of support into the indies, because this industry needs to flourish by the creative minds, creative indies. So we need to support that. But unfortunately, yesterday night we were talking about it's not hyper casual, it's a hyper cashier. So, and it's very crowded, and the mindset is, but it's shifting, right?
Yeah.
So the question is about the challenging, but I have been in gaming industry since 2015, so I observed this transformation in a good way. So, but this is the legend here. What is the biggest challenge, Murat? Tell me.
Actually, there is a simple equation for the games. Actually, for all the business, your LTV must be higher than your CPI actually. And if the CPI is increasing, then the only choice you have is to also increase the LTV. So what is the equation of LTV? It's the retention and revenue per user. The retention, we know it's the same game actually. We know how to increase it, and we already did it. But on the revenue part, the only thing that we can do about it is to find new revenue models for, especially in mobile games. The other way is just to change the platform, or we can use the class platform, or we can use the Web3 part of the gaming. But we have to find new revenue models, new revenue layers, because today we know that only ad revenue is not enough to stay profitable with the mobile games. So we have to think about how we can increase the in-app purchases or find alternative revenue models for the games. That's my opinion, actually.
Thank you.
Yes. So there were always big challenges in the mobile industry. I mean, it's a really quick shifting industry, and those shiftings comes with different problems. So it also differs from the perspective too. I mean, as a publisher, my biggest challenges are, like as Ilayda said, effective user acquisition is a really getting harder problem every day. But also on the other end, the privacy issues are also a big problem. It happens in iOS right now, but it will happen in the Android side too. So this will be a problem for effective monetization or effective ad monetization too. To make profitable games will be much more harder by every day, just because of those privacy issues, just because of not being able to show similar or effective ads to the users. So that's one of the problems. But also on the other hand, finding productive studios or finding high quality productive studios is also a problem in Turkey too. I mean, there were really lots of time for studios to increase their know-how or to increase their production capacity. Hyper-casual was a chance for that, actually. I mean, of course, there was a really quick production cycle in the hyper-casual side, and all the studios were complaining about those quick cycles. And if I ask to the studios, they will probably complain about we were rushing to produce lots of games, and that was the problem, that we couldn't increase our production quality or increase our capacity too. But also that's a missing chance for the studios. So from studios' perspective, the biggest problem should be finding the money for their studio to survive in this ecosystem. I mean, it's one of the biggest problems to find new publishers or new partners to fund their studio, to fund their production cycle, because it becomes an environment like if you can't find a game that will fund yourselves, that will fund yourself for a long time, actually, it's really hard to survive in this ecosystem. So there are also a lot of problems, but we will deep dive into the other ones.
Thank you very much. So we talked about how hard it's to acquire users and retain them. Maybe it's a bit about the platforms, Apple and Google. They made recent changes which highly affected ad monetization and also CPIs, because Apple's change about IDFA, no more targeting for the users, and it almost doubled the CPIs. So that's why mobile gaming slowed a bit, and also those platforms wanted to get more money from in-app purchase, and that's why they direct the industry over there, and so that's why in-app purchase is really important now, and maybe that's why the hybrid monetization is the new trend. So what do you think about the investments, Türker? We had really good deals before. How is it now? How it will be in the future?
We got two different rounds from two totally different investors last years. I mean, in 2022 and 2023 too. But so as a person that talked with lots of different investors, I see the perspective change in the investor side too. So it was hard always. It was always hard for gaming studios to find good investors or to value themselves in a good valuation. It was always a challenging perspective. But nowadays, it's also like if you are a good studio that with a high and with a good perspective that you can persuade the investor that if you if you can implement the ideas that you are offering, or if you want that money for those implementations, it's always persuadable for the investor side. I mean, the investors are looking for good perspectives, good business models that will be valuable, that will be profitable, and that will have a fast return at the end of the day. So, especially for the Turkish investors, it's always a expectation of fast return. I mean, the Turkish investors are always like, I am investing in you, and I should get my return as soon as possible, like in 1 year or in at most 2 years. So that's not a good perspective, actually, but it doesn't mean you can't pursue them too. For the foreign investors also, of course, you can say that the foreign investors has a better perspective and they are not expecting faster returns for them, but it's not actually like that. I mean, the world economy is also getting harder and getting challenging every day, and the cash is always important and it's becoming more important every day. So that's why every investors are also much more getting into details to save their cash and to not lose their cash with much risky business models. So that's why you should really present the less risky business models, less risky returns, and that should probably be the key to pursue the investors at the end of the day.
Thank you.
And on our side, as Game Factor, we just mediated more than 26 game-related investment in Turkey last year. And I'm not very optimistic about the investment industry at the moment, not only in Turkey but also globally, because there is a huge recession, and we can see that Fed also just giving interest rate of 5% for US dollars, which means the valuation of the money is very huge and high at the moment, which means that high-risk investments becomes more risky and more risky. So even the VC funds cannot raise their money for the funds, so it is getting quite harder and harder to raise the money for your company at the moment. So in Turkey, when we look at the numbers, last 2 years, there was 73 studios who raised the money. And when we look for the further runs, further investments, only 3 of them just get it, which means almost all of the 73 investments were pre-seed and seed investments with an average of 2,000 or 250,000 US dollars, which means a maximum runway of 3 years, 2 years. And now we are end of that 2 years, which means that we will have almost 70 game studios which will fail, which will dissolve at the end of this year because of not able to find the further investment runs. And it is very risky at the moment, so it is getting harder and harder to find money globally. So what we can do about it, we have to find some ways to cut the burn rate, actually. It is the most important part. And you have to show your investors that your game have a very high potential, actually. Last year we can find a lot of investments on the idea stage. This year, all the investors are looking for the MVPs and the numbers, even not only the test, also the soft launches, the numbers from the soft launches. But it will end someday, and we will see the summer and sunny days probably in a couple of months later, maybe end of the 2023. But the current situation, I'm not very optimistic about how to raise the money.
May I ask a question? As you know that after like 2020, like the Peak Games acquired by Zynga and it changed all the Turkish gaming industry. So what do you think about the, because the traditional sector comes very fast into the gaming industry. They want to invest, they eager to invest, and they really invested into it. So how did you see, how did it change?
Actually, that was a great FOMO effect for the investors, and almost every investor is just looking for a game company for their portfolio actually. But now they see that gaming investments are a little different story than traditional investments, and they have to wait for the revenue part also.
Is it affected, and it's the impact in positive or negative?
Both actually. Actually, mostly negative because they just.
I don't want to say the negative sides. I just want to ask him to say it.
Mostly negatively because they invest without knowing the gaming industry, and they just has expected that they will see the revenue in a very short time. But the real story is not like that, and they saw that story and they are not happy with that at the moment. And also, those companies are not able to find a further investment rounds at the moment, so most of them is going to fail. But that's the rule, that's the business of the investments. You will invest a lot of companies, and some of them will just find the success. But this year, if you want to just pull the investors in the gaming industry, Turkish gaming industry, so we need some more success stories, because the current success stories just done their job, and if we cannot find more success stories, then the winter will be longer. Too pessimistic?
A little.
No, I'm gonna be optimist right now. So, as you know, in Turkey, like more than 600 active gaming companies, and last week I had like phone calls in media, like Turkish media, calling me and have you heard the news? The startup watch declared that there's like more than $400 million is invested into gaming industry. What do you think? It's just going to, it's coming more like. They were asking me, and I answered that because I have to be optimist in our industry. I'm super optimist because when I meet the young student like in universities, and when I'm mentoring in the incubation centers, I saw a great potential. We have a great talent pool, and right now there are like many VCs which is focusing on just for gaming. And the important thing is the incubation centers and the startup ecosystem, it's partnering with global, like you, like your company. So I'm observing that there's like in GDC, in Gamescom, Xbox, like Xsolla, it's helping to, to meet and introduce them to right investors.
Yeah, to right
investors. Strategic investors, like right money, like smart money, like expertise, so which is important, right?
Yeah, definitely. So I'll be optimistic like Simay. I think there are two takes to consider this investments in Turkey. I mean, we definitely seen an uplift in the past few years because of some serious exits and like some successful launches. And of course with the rise of hyper-casual in the industry. But again, I do also agree, Murat, on that side, because those exits also promoted other studios, like smaller ones, mid-tiers, and the studios with few experience in the industry really got motivated, and they ran after investments. And investors are also very interested in the industry as well, like Turkish gaming industry, because there were huge exits, they were happening within like less than a year, so they saw that there could be a potential, and that was right, but that was right for a few companies. So what happened was, yes, we had a rise of investments, and probably the issue was that it was not coming only from investment firms and like ventures who are experiencing in the industry, but also coming from almost like every business person who does not have a knowledge in the gaming, right? So their investors are also interested in this industry. Small studios were also interested in like jumping into the sector. So there was like a huge pool of like investments and like new studios. So yeah, it bloomed a few years ago, but as a result, a few of them, only few of them had a success and many failed. Why? Because of like these reasons, like lack of experience and knowledge. And right now, if we consider the industry, yes, it is not that strong anymore because of also recession, and also because of the metrics that we are struggling right now. But it's getting solid and solid every day. Why? Because the industry is transitioning into something different. We are changing our games, we are improving them, so we are proving that there is still potential. And also I believe that with all of these like learnings in the industry for the past few years, so investors also got some experience, and now they are changing their focus and they are shifting their investments to hybrid games, maybe studios with experience, like launch experience, or they're shifting their focus to some other like genres. So yeah, there's still potential for investments in Turkey, but if we're specifically talking about the hyper-casual games, yes, you need to be very, very, very strong about your metrics, about your business. Türker mentioned all of the things that you have to be prepared for. So it's not about only developing a game, but you need to build a strong business around your game. So yes, we had like investments pouring, and then we had some difficulties, but right now I believe there is a chance for more investments to come through, because like Simay mentioned, companies like ours as Xsolla, so we are bringing together with like studios, developers, with publishers, and not only with publishers, but also with investors and venture capital. So we are identifying your potential, we are talking with you, we are helping you to improve yourself in terms of development, in terms of art, in terms of business, and we match you with the right investors as much as possible. And we have like two programs called, one of them is like funding club, and then the other is accelerator. So you have chances to discover the potential in investment. So it could be either going directly to an investor if you're ready, it could be a funding club, or it could be an accelerator program. We also have many programs, talent programs in Turkey, and we also have many like accelerators and hubs. They're helping you to grow in terms of anything, different aspects. So yes, if you take the right path, if you get the support you need, and if you connect with the right companies, there is still chance, but it is not as much as it is yesterday, I would say.
Thank you very much. I think even though the industry is slowing down, there are still some investments, especially recently we have heard the news about a couple millions invested in some of the Turkish companies. So there is still hope, and also we have unleashed potential because we have really strong incubators. So there is still much to do about it. And what do you think about the mergers and acquisitions in terms of monopolization or an opportunity for the industry?
So as a person who had a chance to experience this firsthand, and not once but twice, I would say this is definitely an opportunity for positive improvement. You can improve your know-how, you can learn from others' experiences, you can reach out to new resources, new markets, and also there is always some chance for you to expand to another genre or expand to another market with their expertise in that field. So I would say this is something definitely positive, but of course there's a chance of monopolization, and there's a chance of like limitation and like competition. Right now probably we have like 7, maybe 8 gaming companies who are ruling the gaming industry. And I would say, yes, there's a chance of risk, but these companies, all of these like 7, 8, 9 companies, they've been experienced in so many fields. They've been in the industry for a very, very long period of time, and they have operations in different regions, different countries, different genres. And I know that they are not mainly involving the business decisions of small studios or the publishers they acquire. So it is still a chance for you to improve yourself from a acquired company's perspective, and it is a chance for the parent company to improve their operations in different fields. But of course, if it's well strategized and operated, if you're not considering their, like the acquired company's current values, if you're involving them with like too frequently, if you're making decisions on behalf of them, then of course, yeah, there is a huge risk and it could dominate the industry. But again, like these are experienced companies, and I don't think they would make huge mistakes in operations. So from my perspective, it's definitely something very, very positive, and it would be a chance for any company to be a part of a bigger company that is like ruling the environment at the moment.
All right, thank you very much. Simay, would you like to continue?
Yeah, sure. Like, maybe you heard news, if you say like acquirements, just like last week you heard that Sega acquired Rovio, right? And a couple of years ago, I think it was a positive impact in the Turkish gaming industry made by Rovio, because Rovio acquired Ruby Studio in Izmir. So it's not Turkish gaming industry. It's not consist of just Istanbul studios. There is an amazing studio in Izmir. Then is that kind of acquirements and merging. It's now flourishing our Turkish ecosystem. So it's really helpful. So yeah, I just want to add that.
On my side, M&As are, when you start your company, you have to have an exit strategy to make money actually as the founders. So there are actually 2 types of exits. You can sell the company to another one, hopefully a bigger one, or you can make an IPO. So in the gaming industry, the acquisition part, to sell the company part, is much easier than the IPOs actually, because there are a lot of bigger fish that can just come and buy you. We saw that when a bigger fish just ate you, and some more bigger one come and ate them too. We saw it at your Rolex story. Zynga acquired Rolex and Take-Two acquired Zynga, and also the Masomo story. Masomo is sold and Miniclip is sold to Tencent. So it's the nature of the business actually. You start a company. When starting a company, you are planning to make money and get rich actually. And the way to get rich is just sell your company. That's the natural way of getting wealthier.
So we are actually currently experiencing a merge by ourselves. I mean, for the ones who didn't listen our story, like we are actually merging with Tailwords, the biggest PC company in Turkey, and that's one of the unique stories. Like there isn't much stories like in Turkey that 2 companies in Turkey with experience in different genres or in different platforms trying to create a merge story or an acquisition story, whatever you say it. I mean, the important thing is here, like, if those mergers or acquisitions will stay in Turkey, and if we can keep this know-how in Turkey, it will be much more better for the gaming industry in Turkey. I mean, like, we will try to create a roof publishing company that both publishes mobile and PC games together, and that's a whole new story for Turkish industry. If we can create this in a successful way, it will be a great story for not by just for ourselves, but for the industry too. So these samples should increase. Like, I mean, even there's live sample series. Like, Ilayda experienced lots of different stories with Rolex side, but she's now in a totally different company with technology oriented, and I'm pretty sure that she will bring this new know-how to the industry.
Hopefully.
And if those stories will stay in Turkey, and if those acquisitions or merge know-hows will invest back in Turkish industry, this will increase the capacity of the industry too. I mean, we just switch from babysitting to walking steps, and if we wanna run as the industry, we should invest in much different areas, and we should invest back with those acquisitions and mergers. There are good stories and there are bad stories about that. I mean, there are acquisitions, there are people that acquired by foreign companies and stop investing back in the industry, and those are big names. But I hope there will be good returns too that will return back to the industry, and that will create new companies with new focuses. And if we can create much more success stories through that, the investors will also increase their focus on Turkey. There are really great opportunities worldwide. We had already take the focus of the foreign investors, and if you want to increase that, we should create much more success stories.
Perfect. So in your case, the merger was big win-win for both sides.
Mm-hmm.
But at the beginning of this year, we have seen some acquired companies and some merged companies had some problems, especially some of them shut down and some of them downsized. Also, in terms of monopolization, you know, Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard was rejected by UK because of the concerns about monopolization. So I'm in the middle, like sometimes it's good in your case, but sometimes it's a bit risky because of monopolization. So how did you resist shutdown or downsizing? Is it because of the merger, or you had your own strategy beforehand?
I mean, with the pandemic, there was a huge boost in the industry, and that also impacted the economy side and the finance side too. So there were great success stories with great incomes, and those incomes was invested into the studios with funding, to produce new games, to increase their team capacity, or whatever you can say about it. There were also, with the hype of the pandemic boost, there also came with new investors, with totally fast investings, and we were always like, most of them was like not logical investors, because they were just like hype-oriented investments, and that created a comfort zone for the studios. And this comfort zone is already over. I can say that easily. And as with the first questions, I was saying, like, the funding the studios is getting harder every day. And if you want to stay alive in the industry, you should really make hit games that can fund yourselves. You shouldn't fund yourself with another one's money or another partners. You can say it publisher, you can say it investor, whatever it is. You should create your own finance. You should create your own income stories, income products, whatever you can say it. There are lots of different ways to do that. You can do it by making games, or you can do it by creating new technologies. There are lots of different types in the field. I mean, even here in the conference, you can count totally different oriented companies, like 50 different, totally different orientations in here. So this is a huge industry with huge different focuses. So you should really see it as a business. You should really see it as a business model, as a vision, and you should always think about making your vision or making your targets better every day. I mean, it seemed like a simple story, like I should only create a game, and if I make a hit, it's over. I get the millions, and I get my retirement money. But it's the simplest way to look at that, and the ones that look at this way lost their focuses, lost their fundings, and lots of them shut down already. But I believe that the ones who stays alive nowadays are the ones that are the survivors that will create success stories. But these days are also risky, and these days are much more challenging days. If you want to survive for the next year or for the upcoming years, you should always consider new ways to make your own money.
Thank you. So we cannot solely rely on publishers or investors. We need our contingency plan.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it depends on the studio, it depends on the perspective. I mean, as I said, there are lots of different ways to do that, but as a publisher, I can say that we created our story like depending on our own talents. I mean, we had the experience to do that. We were already realizing that we have to do that because that's the most suitable way for us. And everyone should think their own way to do that, and everyone should understand their own talents, their own approaches, unique approaches, to make something better than all of the rest. So that's why you should always think about it. I mean, the founders or the management's job is to do that, to create this vision. So that's why you should always discuss with your team, discuss as with the management side, etc.
Thank you. Speaking of talents, Murat, as far as I know, you are still growing. What do you say about it?
Yeah, actually, the talent part of the gaming industry is not a big deal in Turkey, actually, because we have a very large young talent pool. But how to stay alive when it is very hard to find money? On that case, you have to look at your bank account. You have to just calculate your runway, find new ways to how you can increase that runway and how to cut your burn rates, actually. And the main problem that I saw last year was the problem with the startups, actually. When they raised the money, even the small amount of investments on the seed stage, they just start to move like a big company, a very big company. They just hired thousands of developers and very fancy offices just they rent. And that's not the smart way to spend your money in this type of market conditions. And just we should try to minimize our expenses to make a longer runway. That's the way how we can survive this year. The only way. Even also at home, not only at business.
Thank you.
You mentioned about the talent, and I think the global issue is fighting for the talent, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, sorry.
Yeah, sure.
As I told you, there are a lot of studios waiting just to fail and dissolve and shut down. So this means that till the end of these years, we will have a lot of developers also who are looking for new jobs. So the talent part will not be the main problem.
So,
Sorry.
sorry, I forgot it. Yeah, the thing is, I just want to ask to the audiences, how many people are looking for finding a new job in the gaming industry right now? Don't be shy. I know there are a couple of people.
Five,
So,
six.
perfect. So, like, last year we just lost like 30,000 programmer, developer